Good evening. I show at 6 o'clock. Please join us in the pledge and the prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Join me in prayer, please. Heavenly Father, we just thank you so much for giving us this opportunity to serve our community in this way. We just pray for wisdom and guidance, that you would just direct our conversations and give us wisdom as we make wise decisions for the county, Lord. We just want to thank you, Lord, for the beautiful weather and for our service members and for our first responders, Lord. We just pray for safety for all of them and just your provision over this meeting and over our county. Thank you so much. In Jesus' name, amen.
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 Okay, getting started. If you could silence your cell phones or turn them off. And please, if you have to come up to the microphone and speak, speak clearly in the microphone. And I encourage all members to turn your microphones on. Okay, with that, first up, we have the approval of the 6/8/23 minutes. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify normal. Okay, and the approval ratify of the 5/23 minutes.
Second.
All those in favor? Okay, first up is Alan Teo, KEDCO.
All right. Good evening, council members. I am pleased to be with you today. I usually provide a one-page snapshot that I walk through. I'd like to, in the interest of time, leave this for you to review later, and happy to help with any follow-up or questions, as well as something new. We have a 5-page quarterly report we'll be distributing to all the communities, the city, the county, the towns. That'll come out. I've asked our auditor to distribute that, so please look for that. But give you more of a better, fuller picture of our activities in the last quarter. And so please, again, reach out if any questions I can help with. So the agenda item for this evening, though, primarily is around a funding proposal. And so brought this to the commissioners at their last meeting. This is 3 different items that are proposed. These are from the Economic Development Projects, which is already approved in the 2023 budget. There's $250,000 approved. And so responsibility is to find ways to utilize those dollars to advance our economic development efforts. And so I'll briefly walk through the 3 of those, but certainly please stop me along the way with any questions or more details. So the first item really is a continuation. If you remember back to fall of 2021, I asked the council and commissioners to consider a multi-year commitment toward launching an accelerator program to encourage the startup and growth of med tech focused startups. This is the 2023 continuation of our support for that program. It's a partnership with an organization out of Indianapolis called Next Studios, and we also work with other partners, but that's our contribution towards this program that helps really encourage and come alongside and coach and mentor startup companies that are going to be focused on med tech, medical technology. That's the first item. The second item is support for our housing initiative. We have seen a great response and interest in expanding our effort to promote workforce housing development around the county. We're working with a number of different communities. Right now, I think at the forefront, we have requests for proposals out in Etna Green and to support redevelopment of the South Shore Golf Course. And so as we grow that program, it's taken some more bandwidth, and with that comes more dollars. So this is a one-time request to help us continue to grow the program. I provide some examples of how the dollars are used. Even as much as our bookkeeping, our accounting has tripled in cost, our audit fees have increased as we've managed that greater program. And then the third item is contributions toward 2 feasibility studies. These are very exciting, and these are really showing that we're planning and preparing for future growth. One of them is around a feasibility study looking at downtown development of a downtown parking structure, perhaps like a hotel, conference space, a multi-use project. But our interest at the county level is to really look into the feasibility of the parking structure component of that. And then the second project is looking at developing an innovation district somewhere in the unincorporated portion of the county. This would be a significant investment to attempt to bring in new investment in terms of new companies coming to the community, companies that would complement who we already have. We already have a fantastic ag tech focus, agriculture focus, as well as the orthopedic sector and what I call the recreation sector. This is to have the place, shovel ready to support a much greater development. We're seeing around the state of Indiana a lot of interest and activity, but we have to have the table set, so to speak, to encourage and support that growth to come to our community instead of coming to one of the other 91 counties. And so those are the three projects we're working on, 3 proposals. Again, the commissioners endorsed utilizing a significant portion, but a portion of the Economic Development Project Fund toward this, and to bring this to you for your final approval.
Do we have any questions for Alan?
Yeah, I have one. Yeah, on that, you talk about an event center. Do we not have enough event centers? I mean, with the orthopedic capital, is the Center Lake gonna be okay?
I think it's a great question. The feasibility study will look at where the gaps are. I mean, our understanding, just generally speaking, is there are some gaps in terms of performance space, in terms of events and conference space, especially attached to hotel and parking together. I know Corey Humes from the Convention Visitors Bureau can speak a lot more in depth about that, but she has signaled to us there are some gaps, and we've heard that elsewhere.
Any other questions?
No, but I would like to, we don't really know what the Center Lake Pavilion is going to be able to do for people because it's not open. And so I think that will take some of that need. I don't know. I can't remember the numbers that they stated it would seat, but there's a problem when you get over 250 people of finding anywhere to house them. And I think they were trying to enlarge, but the blueprint, just seeing it, I don't know that it could hold very many more than 250 to 300, if they can hold that many.
And I also think, I'm going to piggyback on that comment, is that if you have a huge wedding type reception, you are going to want to have alcoholic beverages.
Mhm.
And like a lot of our large places that we have available do not allow that.
Any further questions?
Could you highlight some of your entrepreneurship initiative programs that you guys have been engaged with?
Of course. So the MedTech, the Accelerator Studio here is one piece, but really partnering with a number of organizations around our region to make sure we have access to resources to support entrepreneurs, and then having programs like this one that provide kind of the curriculum, the coaching, the mentoring to help them really, kind of tease out what their startup should look like, help to pressure test it, if you will. And then we have access to our revolving loan fund for financing. And then we have other partners to help with other funding, and then we help find space. So it's a continuum. And this is one important piece, to have the place where people can work on their startups and try to really evaluate and make sure they're onto something that's going to be, they'd want to put the family savings towards, so to speak.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
Have you actually done any expenditures from the revolving loan?
Oh, yeah.
So we have a couple different funds. So I want to make sure I'm clear. There's the Small Business Fund and the Workforce Housing Fund. The Small Business Fund, yes, we have, I believe 2 open loans right now. Well, check that. We have a couple different funding sources. So 2 through our traditional program, 2 through our USDA funded program. And then there was also still the Okra / COVID relief fund. And I believe there are still 3 loans in that program. We have a dashboard that kind of talks through.
Okay, and then the housing portion.
And that's the separate one that's housed at our land trust. And that is supporting the Milford redevelopment, or I'm sorry, the Milford housing development, as well as the Owens project we're partnering on with the city.
And I think that one is used because when we got to South Shore, it was not available. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
We have the dollars committed at this point. I mean, the intent is.
So
to
we
grow
are
that
using
fund.
the money.
Yeah. Then as a quick advertisement, the intent is to actually grow the housing fund. I mean, ideally, it is something on the order of $5 or $10 million that you can help provide some support toward financing workforce housing, which is market rate housing in areas that have not seen housing before, to where you really need to help kind of create the market.
Thank you.
Any other questions,
A great question.
comments? I'll look for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve his request.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, the usual sign?
Can we specifically state what you're motioning?
Well, what he requested.
It would be for the funding that's
funding.
requested.
The 250,000?
The
Total
190.
request 195,000.
Okay.
Okay, now a vote. All those in favor? All those opposed?
I'm undecided.
What's that?
I'm fine.
Okay. Thank you, Alan.
Thank you all. Appreciate everything. Working.
Okay, next up, let's see, Highway, Troy.
Good evening, everybody.
Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm here tonight to seek an additional appropriation of $40,000 for advanced warning pavement markings for railroad crossings for 2023. First,
So move.
Second.
All those in favor, usual sign? Next,
second, I'd like to ask for permission to apply for the grant proposal for the 2024 railroad pavement markings for next year. Same grant, same thing, 100% reimbursable grant.
So moved.
Second.
all those in favor, usual sign? Next,
Third, I'd like to apply for CCMG 2023-2 in the amount of $2 million.
So moved.
Second.
all those in favor, usual sign? Next,
Fourth, I have a commitment letter for CCMG matching grant 2023-2 in the amount of $999,790, and this is for a small structure 320 over EMS T26 lane.
and that small structures really a bridge, but
It's gonna be a bridge,
small, yeah.
yes,
But our share would only be $499, $895,
correct,
and CCMG would pay the exact same amount.
correct.
So it's 50-50.
Yep, 50-50 match.
So move.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Okay, one more.
And last, I have CCMG commitment letter for the road work, which would be Old 30 from 450 East to US 30, which is a continuation of what we did this year. And Ogden Point Road from Cherokee to the end, including Sunrise Road and Rosella Drive in the amount of $991,010.80, and that is also 50-50 matching grant.
So our share's 495, 505,
Correct,
40.
correct.
Second.
Hold on, I didn't get that one
There
for
you go.
some odd reason.
This is right here.
Thank you. I just don't have that.
It's
Nope.
Is that one?
No,
Oh,
it's not. This is 999.
Okay.
I'll take a picture of it.
Okay.
I can get it to you, Joni. if
It's
you-
fine.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Trying to take a picture.
Thank you.
Thank you guys very much. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
I do want to say, though, the beauty of this is that we've doubled our money
Yeah,
and we have the money.
Yeah, that's right.
That's-
correct.
That's the best
Right.
part of it. So
We're extending our tax dollars to the max by this 50-50 matching grant, and we've had great success over the last 4 or 5 applications that we put in, and we've gotten every one, so.
Right.
You guys have done a
Yeah.
fantastic job. Thank you for taking good care of the county taxpayer dollar.
yeah,
It's
we
been worth
appreciate it.
millions of dollars to the county.
Yes, we're trying. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, recorder, Rhonda.
Rhonda?
All right, I'm filling in for Deb. So this is just an annual ordinance that she submits telling me, requesting, asking the sum of $265,455 of the recorder's perpetuation fund be used to supplement payment of the expenses of the recorder's office for 2024 calendar year.
Give a breakdown.
this is what she can spend out of her perpetuation money that she pays salaries.
Okay,
And this year's budget, she submitted 259,805. And when we do the budgets, we will see that under 1189, budget number 1189. So she's up to 265,000 455, which then says that's money we don't have to pay out of the general fund.
Right, I thought
Which
we
is-
usually just got something explaining what she was using it for in the
It
past.
does say, I do think that tells us what she's
Yeah.
using it for. Doesn't it?
She says in her email, it's because she's included salaries and benefits to match how it reads. That's
Right.
why it's higher.
So moved.
Does that help?
Second.
Okay. Motion and a second. All those in favor? Thank you. Next up is, county extension update. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for having us here tonight. So we just wanted to come and provide an update on what we're doing over with Purdue Extension, what we've been doing out in the county. And you know, how that we've been building relationships. So I'm Emily Kreska. I'm the Ag and Natural Resources Extension Educator. So just a couple things that I've been doing in the relationships I've been building with our community. This past April, I held a home vegetable gardening series. This was a hybrid event where we had different host sites across the state of Indiana. And we brought in one speaker and where they were able to learn about vegetable gardening tips, vegetable insects, vegetable diseases. And Kosciuszko County actually had the highest number of registrations across the state of Indiana, where I had 19 register and participate in that. So I've seen an increase in home vegetable gardening interest here in the county. So I've been going out to various libraries and providing education in that to educate the community. I also was able to host my first Ag Day and Taste of Ag this year. We were excited to have Taste of Ag back this year. So we were able to reach 1,035 fourth grade students on the importance of agriculture, specifically here within Kosciuszko County. And then we opened up those same educational stations to the public that evening, and we had over 700 people from the public come in and also learn about the importance of agriculture, specifically here within Kosciuszko County. I've also partnered with Grace College's Lilly Center for Lakes and Streams. And we were able to partner together to host an event titled Women Growing Their Future. So this was a women in ag focused event, specifically on homesteading. So again, focusing on gardening, canning, and focusing on producing things on your homestead. And we were actually able to get 30 women registered for that event as well. And 100% of those women that completed the survey at the end said that they learned something that they didn't know before. So we are very happy with that turnout. So I actually have a meeting with them in the upcoming weeks to see if we can make this a regular thing where, we make it quarterly, a couple times a year, focusing specifically on women here in the county and women in agriculture. One other program that I did that was new to the county, I worked with several other A&R educators, and we did a drone program here in Warsaw to prepare. We had farmers, landscapers, teachers, and also police officers attend this 2-day event where it prepared them to go and get their certified applicator, their license in drones. So that's something I'm looking to get a little more involved in, looking to get my certification, my license in drones as well, so that we can bring that to the county and have more trainings like that here. And then just a couple things coming up. I am doing another Master Gardener class coming up this fall. So applications are due July 21st. I already have I believe 9 applicants. So again, seeing a lot of interest in gardening and things like that. So really focusing on that and getting out in the community. So that's all I have. I'll gladly take any questions or comments, but thanks for having us here tonight.
Share your name again, if you would.
Emily Kreska.
Emily, could you share your contact information for
Yes.
anybody that's interested in any of your programs?
Sure. Yeah, I can do that.
Or just tell us right now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So my email is eluc@purdue.edu.
Okay.
Yep, you're
And
welcome.
now I have another question.
Sure.
So I get periodically your folder your newsletter.
Yes.
If somebody wants your newsletter, which gives all your events
Mhm.
going forward, is it like quarterly? Is it annual, quarterly?
Yes,
something
so
like that?
I
The
do,
physical, like the physical one that's folded?
yes, so I do one, that's 2 times a year.
Okay.
I know 4-H does one that's monthly, and then Shannon also does one that's bi-monthly.
If somebody in the audience or a member wants to get that, would they just email you and
Yes.
request that?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Any additional questions or comments? Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
I also have Andrew Farrell's report tonight. He is the 4-H educator. He's obviously very busy with fair, going on currently, tonight. So he provided us with his report. So starting off, since fair is going on this week, he did give us, fair by the numbers. So we have 1,080 livestock entries. We have 524 general project entries. And we have a total of 531 4-H members, along with 259 adult volunteers. So we've all been out there this week, helping Andrew and making sure that we have a successful Kosciuszko County Fair. So some of the things that Andrew has been doing throughout in the county, he has held 3 events with Grace College and Jefferson Elementary. With those 3 events, he had 24 youth registered and 24 participated. The kids built model airplanes using foam and wood kits, and then tested that final product. These units are being taught in partnership with Andrew himself, the Dean of College's Department of Engineering, Dr. Fred Wentford, and then 2 Grace College Department of Engineering students. So he's been partnering with Grace College, specifically to the Department of Engineering, to take these STEM events out to elementary schools. He's also held 2 events with Baker Youth Club. The first event serviced 12 youth, and the second event serviced 18 youth. The kids explored 3D printing pens and designed winter and holiday items and printed multiple items. So this included snowflakes, presents, igloos. So they use those 3D pens to develop objects like that. He also delivered 3 STEM in the classroom events to 3 separate school districts. One school district is a new addition to this program. So through this, he impacted 120 4th and 5th grade students during those 3 events. He designed hands-on lessons for his team of 4 high school 4-H members to teach. So he actually used 4-H members, high schoolers to go in and teach these younger kids. And then lessons were created involving topics such as chemical reactions, engineering, design, robotics, electricity, 3D printing, and air pressure. The last thing he has on here, he taught 4 robotics events at the Warsaw Public Library. He was able to impact 18 unique 3rd through 6th grade students during those 4 events. And lessons were created that involved Lego construction and coding. Students tested their builds and code in accumulating test events where they were able to drive their Lego robot through a course using the knowledge gained from previous weeks. So that's kind of what Andrew has been up to and doing throughout the community. So I'll turn it over to Shannon next.
Hi, I'm the new health and human science educator. I started in August, so I haven't got in a full year yet. But during that time, I've done 118 educational programs throughout the community and impacted 2,863 individuals that I've had direct contacts with, and then 1,879 individuals that I've had indirect contact with. I've conducted 8 county programs where we've had either 50 to 100 people that have attended and participate in those county health and wellness programs. It's for the Kosciuszko County employees that they participate in. We did the Hydrating for Health, Resolve to Move More, Get Walking, Train Your Brain for Nutrition, Neurobics, Notable Ways to Keep Your Brain Healthy, Food Allergies 101, Food Budgeting and Meal Planning, What's in Your Bag, and Credit Basics. Then I worked with Breathe Well, the Breathe Well Coalition, and taught 9 vaping health effects classes throughout the community and impacted 130 students. Been working a lot with Valley School Corporation. We plan to reach out to more schools this year. Since it was my first year, we just centered on one school. So we did a reality store there where we worked with kids and 133 sophomore students where they learned how to budget, how to use a registry book, pay bills on a monthly basis. They really got an idea of what it's like to be in real life and how they would have to pay bills on a monthly basis. We also partnered with Valley School Corporation to do mock interviews. We're going to expand that this year to do a work ready program so we can teach them how to get their resume, cover letters, references available, as well as teach them more about interview processes. We'll do reality store with them again this year, and we're also doing a credit basics program with them this year. So a lot of partnership with Valley School Corporations, and now we're going to expand that out to more. Then we did a Captain Cash program with Lakeland Christian Academy. Just again, teaches the kids about budgeting and teaches them about wants and what's a want and what's a need. So did that with 50 students at Lakeland Christian Academy. So been a little busy so far.
Wow, I'm impressed.
And you just started.
Yeah, I started August 1st of 2022. So yeah, we've got 118 educational programs in already this year. So
I'm impressed with both of you guys.
Thank you.
thanks.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
both.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, assessor. Gail Chapman. No, Gail?
This is something we can address from the wage committee. This is a part-time employee and we're just trying to level the playing field. Similar person that's paid a salary is making this amount that's listed here, 2138. And you know, we've tried to level out those so that they're both being paid, compensated at the same time. That's the purpose for this. And she does not need to transfer money. There's enough money in that account to actually pay for it. And the wage committee did approve this.
Any questions with Sue Ann?
I'll make
No.
a motion to approve it.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Thank you, Gail. All right, Veteran Service Officer Daryl. Good evening.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm here to request additional appropriations for simply uniforms, the amount of $250. Reason I see this is it's another form of outreach. It's you can consider it a walking billboard. What I have trying to reach is the ones that are not members, veterans that are not members of the typical organizations that you see around here. The VFWs, DAVs, and American Legion. I'm looking forward to get down to, as I visit townships inside of our county, the events that they have. I would like to display that so that I can, it's a form of just, instead of me going and trying to find them, they see it, maybe introduce a conversation and get things started so that we can start the conversation with what entitlements they have earned or may be able to obtain from VA. So with that, I look forward to hoping you'll accept the request for appropriation.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Thank you, Daryl.
Thank you.
Kosciuszko County Park and Recreational Board.
Good evening, everyone.
Hello.
Good evening.
So I think you have in your packet our draft logo, and I'm not exactly sure what they put in the packet. As part of our visioning, which you know we've been working on awfully hard, we've been looking at logos. You might say, why are you doing logos at this point in time? That's pretty early, but it is part of our visioning. And there are 3 projects in the SIP. And I will tell you, when we first turn that shovel of dirt, I want to be able to put a sign up saying it's the Parks Department, and we will from then on be able to tell everybody it's the Parks Department. The other thing I'll tell you as somebody who goes out and cycles a lot, there are times I get lost on trails because there's not adequate signage. So I want to make sure from day one that you're able to tell that you're on a Kosciuszko County trail. So it said in here approval. I don't expect you to micromanage us. I think logo is probably something that's up to us. I can tell you that our Parks Board members will be reaching out to each one of you to see if you want to have individual conversations about this and the other things we're doing here. Some of you may already have emails, but I'll be happy to take any comments, criticisms, whatever you have in terms of the branding that we've put together at this point in time.
I like it. I think it looks great.
Thank you. It was done by a student at Grace.
Are you always going to include the Kosciuszko Parks and Recreation underneath it?
It's going to depend upon its application. So for example, if there were a road sign that said, here's the mileage, probably not, probably just the logo on that. So it just depends.
You talked about signage for trails. Have you ever thought about phone apps that track your?
Oh, yeah, and I use those, and there's a number of ways we can do that. Including like the trails out at Winona Lake are GPS mapped through MTB project, which is funded by REI, so there's no cost to the bike club to do that. So yes, absolutely.
Okay.
I think it's tame, but we've already had that discussion.
I use the word plain. I just think it would be nice if it was actually identified with the wording as part of the logo always. I don't know. I mean, there might be room by the sun. I'm taking it it's the sun, right?
Yes.
Okay. I just think it needs to be more than,
Maybe a picture of Thaddeus Kosciuszko.
no, I
We
just
have
think it
one?
needs to say what it is.
I
Well,
really,
I can tell you
I
that
really
we
like the
intentionally did not approve the logo at our last meeting because we wanted to come to both council and commissioners and discuss your thoughts on it. So again, somebody's going to reach out to you to sit down, and maybe that's a great time to really look at those options and see what
love it.
else we can do.
I love the design. The design is really cool.
I think
It
it's
really
cool.
integrates the road and the waterways, which
Mhm.
is, exactly what you're trying to, or trails, excuse me.
Mhm.
Right.
And waterways.
Okay. Well,
I just have one observation.
Yep.
See all that black?
I think that's just the first page of the presentation though.
Well, it's there and then it's over a couple. I'm just making a suggestion that when you do presentations, you don't do everything black because it takes an awful lot of ink.
We do have a presentation we've put together. We presented it to one of the clean water groups and it is almost entirely white.
Good job. Good job. That was not a criticism. That was just an observation.
Yep, so we've done a couple other things. If you sit down with one of our members, we have a one pager on front and back on stuff we've done. We have a PowerPoint. You can see all that kind of stuff.
We have some of these. We have.
That is all the branding.
Oh, okay.
Yep, that's all branding. So that says what fonts we use, what colors we use, ways not to use logos.
But if you look at the one t-shirt, you use an example of a black t-shirt and it's got the Kosciuszko, but then the Parks and Recreation literally blends right in to
Yeah,
the
can I come
black.
up? I'm not sure which one to look at.
See the
Oh,
green?
yeah, yeah,
So it really kind of depends on what you're gonna put it against.
right. It absolutely does. Yep.
any additional questions or comments on the logo? Okay, let's move on to the second portion of the appropriations you're asking for.
Yes. So it's funny when I looked at it, it says additional appropriations, but actually we've never had an appropriation. We got stood up too late last year to do.
Initial appropriation.
Initial appropriation. So we've asked for two things. We've asked for some money for mileage. There's an Indiana Parks and Recreation Association. We want to try to send a couple people to that. There's an entry fee for it. It's over in Fort Wayne in a month or two. That's what the $1,000 there is for, to cover that. And then the other $1,000 is to cover the cost of the branding exercise we're in the middle of. And that's it. That's all we've asked for this year.
So it's just the branding, it's not the printing. portion.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep, yep.
Okay.
Who did the branding?
It was done by a student at Grace College. Matt Metzger, who's on our board, is their marketing person. So he worked with one of their people to do it. So we're able to use a student and give them some experience.
Two things. I think our county, when we pay for mileage, isn't it over like 50 miles? Don't you have to go over a certain amount of miles to get mileage reimbursed? Or is that just for lodging and dining?
Unless it's multiple nights, if it's multiple nights.
We're not planning on it. So most of this is going to be the entry fee for the
Okay.
conference itself. Yeah. And last year was in Indy, so that would have been a different story.
So the advertising cost is not being paid to a board member. It's being paid to a student who works for a board member, correct?
Well, he doesn't work for the
Or he-
board
or
member,
he's
but
in
he is a
school.
student at
We're just
Grace.
trying to
Yeah,
find out if
yes,
there's no
you're right.
conflict, Rob, sorry.
Yes, I can tell you that Mr. Metzger is not getting any money out of this contract. If that's the question.
That was raised, so.
And
it
that's
was-
a fair question.
okay.
No, he intentionally got a student on board. He and Mike Cusick went out and met with them a number of times to work on this.
Any additional questions or comments?
So you also have a donation fund. You have a fund 4118 that is your donation fund, and I believe, I want to say there was like $7,600 maybe put into that. Was that to create your plan?
Yes.
Was that not what the
Yeah,
intention of
yes.
that was?
And
Okay.
so I think you all know that we're working on a couple requests for proposals. I'd hope to be able to use that money for that. We also have another possible donor to defray the cost of the county. So yes, my understanding is I'm not able to, not expected to tap into that for these items.
Right, right.
Because aren't you using MACOG also? Some people from MACOG.
MACOG is helping us do the
there's
RFPs.
Some of the RFPs, okay.
Yeah, and our RFP, the RFP for the master trail plan is a little different because they haven't done one for both blueways and greenways. So I'm doing a lot of heavy lifting on that to get it the way we want it to read. And again, when we meet with all of you, we'll be happy to share the draft of that, show you where we think we're going.
Any more questions or comments? If not, I'll look for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the initial appropriations for $1,000 for mile fuel and travel and $1,000 for printing and advertising.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great night.
Next up is the sheriff's office. Good evening, Mr. Mulligan.
Good evening. We're here tonight to ask for some additional appropriations. The first being an item for the sex offender registry, $5,000 out of that fund that we have now for operating and supplies. The second is a save.
Let's do them one at a
Let's do it
time,
one at a time.
please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, any questions or comments on
Wait
this
a
one?
minute. The safe is included in the materials,
No.
or is that second?
That's second.
Okay,
The first one is just for the
Just supplies and operations.
supplies and operating for the sex offender registry.
okay. So what you're saying is there's no desk and chair there in your building over there that can be used in this office? Because it says
Correct.
you
It's
want to
new.
buy a new desk and a new chair?
Correct. It's a new space. We converted the old
Okay.
visitation room.
And I understand that. I'm asking if there's a desk and chair that cannot be used, that we already have that's existing that maybe came out of another office.
Actually, in that plan, I believe there is a repurposed desk that they've spoke of that was originally in one of the clerk's offices
Okay?
that they are bringing over.
And then other than the desk and chair, what other supplies would there be? Is it like printed material? Is it
Correct, every-
education?
Correct, every offender that comes in annually has probably a 7-page packet they have to sign. Every 90 days, they have another paper, just multiple miscellaneous stuff like that.
Okay, I think the confusion lies in the fact that it says desk and chair, and we thought you were spending $5,000 for a desk. We wanted to come look at it.
Yeah.
Because we've never seen a $5,000
You know,
desk.
in walking through that building,
Plural on the desk.
desks
and
and
chairs.
chairs, yeah.
No, it would just be one desk and one chair.
Yeah. that's- Okay, so it's just basically for supplies to use to fulfill the duties of that office.
Correct.
I make a motion to approve.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Okay, next on this.
Would you try to find a desk?
It says they're using a repurposed desk.
No,
From
for
the
the,
clerk's
no,
office,
it's for the
right?
repurposed location.
Okay, we've
Yeah.
kind of moved on from that. Now
Okay.
let's go to the save portion of it. Your next one.
If I could chime in just for a second.
Okay.
Mike, thanks. I'm not sure where the confusion come from. Specifically, that is a need that we have right now. that we
Okay.
can Use that at 5,000. There's not a budgeted item right now for sex offenders, and that's what we're trying to accomplish here.
Right.
And I'm not sure if maybe there was miscommunication on our end with Michelle sending them over to you guys, but specifically that is a need that we have. We can foresee smaller expenses. We would just like to have a little bit of a budgeted item in there inside that. I think we're sitting on $40,000 or something right now, Sue Ann and I've talked about.
Yeah.
We've never had an actual budget line for
Right.
that. And that's kind of what we're trying to accomplish.
It's 41,763.36, no
Right.
problem. But that was my only question.
Yeah.
I absolutely understand what you're doing and we appreciate that you're doing that. So I don't think anybody is opposed to that. We
Okay.
were just
Well, I just-
questioning the writing of it.
You know, I heard I was like, I don't remember talking about a $5,000 desk. I do know that we need a desk, but.
It's what it
So
says
if
in
you're-
the
if you're
description.
gonna
get a $5,000 desk,
I
it'd be
didn't,
for
I
you,
didn't
right?
see that, so I apologize. for
No, that's okay.
miscommunication. Good.
We just wanted to clarify. It's all good.
No problem.
All right, order. Next item.
The next item is for a previously approved grant for SAVE for the stop arm violations on the school buses.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Okay,
The third is for another pre-approved CHIRP grant for extra patrols for seatbelt enforcement.
And
So
CHIRP
moved.
stands for what? Do you know?
I
Chirp-
do- I
chirp
do
stands
not.
for-
It's something highway, hold on a second.
OPO.
Highway.
Okay.
Correct.
They've moved.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's actually through our
I'll,
traffic.
I'll
safety
second
department.
Tony's motion.
okay, so
Sorry, I just thought you might know that.
we have a motion and a
weird
second.
word.
All those in favor? Okay, and body cam.
The last is for an appropriation for $15,960 for the body cam project that was completed through the jail.
Questions or comments?
And you say it's for the jailers, not for the patrolmen, or for both?
For the jail
Okay,
specifically.
thank you.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
guys.
you.
County Administrator, Marcia.
What are we doing for this?
Good evening.
Good evening, Marcia.
So first item up we have is for the Public Safety Communications Project. This is for the utilities for the tower sites. So when we started this, we did not have this information when we did the budget last year. So this is to appropriate to the end of the year for those utility expenses, and we've budgeted in 24 for those expenses.
Any questions or comments?
Only that, you remember, we had $200 that we needed to do in advance right after our meeting because a bill came that was going to have some charges for penalties. And so we need to include that. We don't have to approve it. We just need to acknowledge in our minutes that we did verbally approve that
That was my.
200 also. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So we're covered now, so.
Okay, so we're covered.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Okay, next.
Next additional appropriation is in the edit fund. This has to do with the revitalization committee. The proposal is to appropriate $10,000 for the rest of this year for legal services and unsafe buildings, 60,000. I believe Mike and a couple of the council people serve on the revitalization committee.
No,
so
I didn't
think
know we had one.
They can
Not
kind
in
of
our
give
list.
you a,
I told you about it last meeting. I told you we had a revitalization committee.
this is for
So-
blighted buildings
so-
to clean these up.
So
Yes.
the understanding is the 60,000 is the physical
the physical
Physical
building.
part of building expense, correct?
Yes,
Or tearing down
demolition,
buildings.
cleanup
Tearing-
and
right.
everything.
And then the 10 is attorney fee.
That's correct.
For the health department, right? Attorney fees for the health
Yes,
department.
there's a long process that you
Right,
have to go
right.
through
Yeah.
to get something like
This
this.
is
Okay.
dealing with derelict,
Right.
condemned properties that we're trying to get back on the tax rolls, what it deals with.
So move.
Second.
All those in favor? Okay,
Side note, we have included this in the budget for 2024.
Thank you.
Additional appropriations for the ARPA fund. These have been before all of the committees. This is to appropriate the dollars. The KCCVB, the digital sign was 100,000. And for the 1300 North project was 1.8 million.
Sue Ann, do you have any comments for the opera committee?
Only that there was good news that the KCCRVC did provide $60,000 for the balance of the cost for that sign. Because the ARPA committee, we said we'd give 100, need to find somebody else to foot the rest of it. And the commission did actually approve it, so.
So
That's
move.
great. Second,
Okay, we have motion and a second. All those in favor? And on the 1300 North,
Oh,
That's,
that was with this, that was with it.
are we handling both of those in one motion? Okay,
They're in the same
okay,
ordinance.
all right, move on then.
Yes.
Yes,
thank you. And I'm going to turn this next one over to Carrie.
get off the hot seat, huh?
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Just want to thank everybody who did from our last meeting, go over and take a tour of the Justice Building. I think Marcia said there were several of you that made it over there to be able to kind of walk through the building and just see a little bit of what we were trying to do. And with that, I know one of you requested that we kind of provide that spreadsheet of how we came up with that estimate the last time. We've also invited Chris Stein here this evening from Design Collaborative, just to kind of walk through the process a little bit. There's also some floor plans that show all the areas that we are going to be touching, just to kind of give you a scope of the breadth of what we're talking about. Because when you start talking about all 3 floors of the Justice Building, that square footage really starts to add up from the number of square foot that we're actually touching. So from there, I'll let Chris kind of walk you through that and be happy to answer any questions. I'll stand here beside him, and if I can't answer any.
We didn't get a spreadsheet. There is no spreadsheet.
Good evening. Thanks for having me.
There's.
thanks for
this,
coming. We
the
appreciate it.
original thing.
I'll leave it open just as field questions that you might have, or concerns, or process, anything like that. I'd be glad to answer any of those items.
do we have any comments or questions?
We were.
Was the spreadsheet emailed to us after the last meeting?
I believe it was, yes. Marshall, that, yes.
Some of us are looking for a spreadsheet that doesn't
Or
exist.
In our packet.
No, the spreadsheet was last.
Well, it was a list.
Yeah, I think what you
What was
should
included in this?
have is
All we have are these.
you have
Yes.
3 plans that are
This
color
list.
coded with explaining where the products are or what types of materials are being used wherever.
Yes.
And you should have from, may have come again, but there was a probable cost included in a timeline. So
Yeah,
that
we
would be
did
the
get that.
documents that you have to work off.
Yeah.
of.
Is that this?
But then also there was a spreadsheet that was.
Okay, I'm not aware
That's
of
the
it.
part that we didn't get in our packet, but
Okay.
that's okay.
But could you talk a little bit about that spreadsheet, maybe a little bit of the scope of how you come up with your estimate?
Yeah, so the scope, the way we work, it's a square foot cost basis or lineal footage cost basis. So you have really, if you look at the probable cost, this is what I'm looking at when I say that probable cost statement. And you may be calling that the spreadsheet, I'm not sure, but in essence, you're looking at flooring, which consists of resilient flooring, carpeting. You're looking at wall coverings, which really consists of either a vinyl wall fabric replacement or painting. And then you're looking at base, which is wood products in some locations and vinyl products in other locations. So we really was kept to that. In our initial meetings, we did a good walkthrough with Marcia and talked about ceilings. We talked about all kinds of things, doors and signage, and limited to these products. And I think Carrie kind of brought it up. When you look at the scope that's being covered on the 3 floors, it's approximately it's in the 90,000 square foot ballpark. And when you start to look at this, and if you break it into square foot costs, take that total budget
divided by that, and it's around a $25 a square foot kind of number for a limited finish package, which commercially would not surprise us these days. And it's a different number than residential. But at the same time, it's not surprising to us. So it's also, just so you know, this is not gilded and it's not cheap big box store product. This is good quality commercial products. You should be able to get the same longevity you have out of what you have there now. A great example is your vinyl wall fabrics that are there. I know they're peeling now. They're starting to come down in some spots, and you've got some, which is why it's being looked at. And there's always a concern, well, why are we going to go back with a product that's going to do that? And then I was quizzing, when was that put in? And I think you got your money's worth out of that, and that's awesome. Then you mix in, I know there was an HVAC issue for a while, and you had some humidity issues over there, and that's a kiss of death for a product like wall vinyl, glues and adhesives and things like that. So when we look at that in our experience with what we see with new construction and renovation, I think it's done pretty well with how long it's held up. You would see, I know there was also discussions and questions about the all at once component here. You would see, sometimes you'll see schools get into the same type of a situation where it's been delayed and for a while for good reason. And now it's time, you're looking at the entire chunk, if you will. And we've actually kept it quite a bit. When you look at the diagram, the actual floor plans, there are pieces and parts that we're leaving out. Some have already been touched to some degree, and others weren't on that list. But for the most part, that's the scope. That's kind of how we got to that scope. And again, we were staying away from quite a few things just to make sure that we weren't driving up a budget there. So that's a real broad brush walk through how we got there. But myself, two of our interior designers, one of our senior interior designers as well, did further walks and documented it and created the plans you're looking at based off of some PDFs. So there's from our portion of the work. And then the next steps would be, and I'm not being presumptuous, the next steps would be to whatever level of approval or whatnot would be a bidding process. We're also looking at a cost consideration there. If this was bid out to a general contractor, then you're going to get a markup on top of the subs that they would hire. And granted, they're limited. You have flooring subs essentially here and a painting sub. And what we've talked about is as our role as a construction administrator, just watching. As architects, we don't swing the hammer. We don't lay the brick. But we are watching to make sure that it is happening the way it's supposed to per the drawings and per the specifications. So that is one of our responsibilities that we're signed up for. What we're doing in addition to that is we're going to monitor, we'll do the bid process, which is very common, but we're also going to be overseeing some of the CA meetings and the construction progress throughout. We're not replacing a GC. That's not our intent, but we're going to use a prime contract with the different flooring, the different subs. So they'll probably likely in this one, two prime contractors, which would be a flooring contractor and a painting contractor, which isn't it's not uncommon either. So we've taken into consideration some things that do affect cost, where the goal was to have it in place in construction document wise. We're very close. We're just kind of sitting right there waiting for some cross some T's and dot some I's so that we can bid it before school work. So historically, all over the country, but historically, especially Northern Indiana, your contractors get booked. Everybody who's doing any kind of school work out there is designing it all to get it done so it can be bid before first of the year. And then it is a race to see which contractors you can get. And so, and I've actually contacted a few flooring contractors and general contractors like that who've all said, yeah, if this came out in the fall, it would be better. Because they'll have availability to get started on it versus waiting. The schoolwork will bid hard in the late fall and winter, and then it's going to hit the ground running in the spring and summer. Your project calendars out if it takes off before that. So, and just on top of the end of it, tail end of it roughly. So we're looking at this as probably 4 to 6 months in that range of work. So there are other things that we're trying to do to make sure we can keep those costs down. If we go to bid right at the same time of all the schoolwork, your job is super important, but you're looking at contractors that are looking at the largest general contractors in the area, wanting that they do work for all the time. It's their bread and butter. They're going to, be looking out for them first and that type of thing. And it all plays, it has an impact on our number here with this project too. So quite a few, there's a bunch of little things there. I'll hush. I'm talking too much. And just if you got any more questions, I'd be glad to answer.
One question I have is that, yes, I mean, the Justice Building, I don't think anyone is going to disagree, is in dire need of repair. How do we not end up in the same place 10 years down the road?
Sure. I do enough of this that I've seen a lot of different, how it's done a lot of different ways. So I think it's, if you're in a situation where you haven't done it for years, now you're not going to catch up overnight. But I think it's where you're going to put in an appropriation plan where I've listened to the first groups coming up here, and this is the allocations that it starts to work into the budget. Is
What
how
a
that
concept.
works.
Yeah.
Yeah,
A
shocking.
concept.
You mean we could plan for this and not be hit with a $2.4 million?
I don't know who's behind, so I don't know if I'm gonna. But long and short of it is, if you look at how the school works, when we put new product in like carpeting, there was a day when you put terrazzo in and you didn't touch it for 100 years. I mean, but that's just not how it works today. So you're putting carpeting in, and there's a lifespan of that. And those facilities directors are taking that into consideration. So they're immediately spending money today, and they know in 7 years, they're going to need to look at that carpet again. And, 7 to 10 years, most of these schools are taking care of that issue. I say most, but some aren't. You also have, if you followed, I'm native to Warsaw, but live in Fort Wayne. And Fort Wayne Community Schools didn't touch it for year after year after year. And they just had the numbers were insane to where they had to close some schools because they had delayed it so long. So it's really not, it's easy to approach. It's not easy to do and get it started, but I think that's really the way you look at it, is to say, okay, ask us, what's the longevity of a paint job on the walls? Well, you should, if it's not a high traffic area where it's getting dinged up and beat up. So like total repainting, that might be a 10-year plan. Depends on how you live. You have some people that every 5 years, they want that to happen. They have different budgets. A school would look at that. High traffic areas, probably every 5 to 7 years, they're looking at that. A school system's going to look at flooring in the same way, where it's not hard surface that can last for quite a while, where their maintenance there is just waxing or doing whatever they need to. They're going to look at the carpets with that 7-year number. Your vinyl, like I said, you got your money out of that. You should be happy about that. So vinyl's an expensive product to put back up, but if it's installed properly and the HVAC is working spot on all the time, that's a 10 to 15, 20-year product. If it's done properly. So, I mean, that's where you're looking at that. You wouldn't use the same allocation. So you would start to look at a budget for a painting budget. You would look at a flooring budget, those types of things, I think is how you would approach it.
And
Go ahead, Jim.
you would provide all of these numbers as far as longevity?
Oh, I'd be glad to, yeah.
Well, I mean, that's important so that it's actually part of a strategic plan and it's included in the maintenance budget. I think currently our maintenance budget is basically salaries. And I don't think we do a lot of upkeep and repair across the board.
Sure. And we're very comfortable doing that. I mean, we're going to show you the product, and each product, by the way, when it's all done, you're going to walk away. You'll have maintenance information on every product you get. I mean, that's just how the warranties work. And so that information will be there. They'll have their life cycles in there. Warranties aren't what we're talking about, by the way.
Right.
They are what they are.
Useful life.
Exactly. Yeah, you nailed it. That's the verb.
And honestly, this is a good starting point, because if we just amortize this over 10 years, that's $240,000 a year we need to be putting back. And, I mean, that's kind of a good number. It's just easy. I mean, other than what you're gonna tell us.
The
Well,
other
plus
thing that
inflation.
we're working with Design Collaborative on as well is what I think some of you are requesting is with these core buildings that we have. We've already done this with a lot of the infrastructure as far as the boilers and the HVAC systems, but they're gonna help us try to build out a format of what the longevity of the different components of the building are, whether that's the roof, the exterior, this flooring, to try and build out a plan for each individual building on what the life cycle is of those things. So we can try to build out better budget towards what that would look like in the future. That is something we've had conversations with them about.
Yeah, and so that's a great point. This is a different part of the dance that we were brought in at. What we're talking about now is the envelope study for some, and Marcia's working with us right now on priority levels, priority 1s, 2s, 3s, brand new, stay away. We don't need to mess with that type things. But that's to tackle the envelope, which is another, and we distinctly look at that as a different beast. But so that is starting where you guys, the questions you're asking are, that's exactly what you do. You do that assessment, you start to understand, and now you can allocate those funds slowly and build those funds over time. But
I appreciate you coming in and answering questions. And I don't honestly have anything against it. What I am opposed to is using ARPA funds for this. I think we have other money we could use, because my understanding of ARPA funds is it's supposed to be for the community good. And the Justice Building, the people that go in to be sentenced don't care what it looks like, to be honest with you. The employees care, and some of the other public, when they go in to vote, might care. But I just think there could be a better use of those ARPA funds, where it would be more of a project that would benefit the entire community, and find the funds for this out of a different fund.
Well,
Well,
$10 million of what we've received of the 15 was reimbursement that the county could use for their own. That was to be our own. And I believe the ARPA committee, I'm just going to say what I think. I believe the ARPA committee, I think we've been very generous with the community, trying to get money out to the various different people who have applied, and trying to do those things which are going to have long-term impact, which was what our goal was. That was the goal that we set, is that we're not going to do things that tomorrow aren't going to be here. So I think we've tried to live by that. That addresses that. I do have an editorial comment. You know, we have this money that we have been blessed with, and that's great. But we're never going to have another $2.4 million land in our lap like this money has. So the proof is going to be in the pudding going forward with budgets. If we do not maintain these buildings, they are going to fall down around us. You mentioned schools, that's a school's principle. They don't take care of them because they want to build a new one. And so they let them fall down. We've seen it in all of our communities in this county. And I just have a real problem with us not maintaining. Historically, we had a plan. You did part on the 3rd floor, the 2nd floor, the basement. That was 1 year on half of the building across the street. And then you did the other half over here. So there's 6 of the years. And then you did 1 floor in this building each year. That was 9 years. So in 10 years, you would have gone through everything, which is exactly what you're suggesting, which is exactly what used to be done. So we've missed that piece of the puzzle. And again, thankfully, we have this money that we can put into these buildings so that they don't fall down and so that they don't go away.
You know, my comments would be that we have used a large portion of the ARPA funds for the betterment of our community as a whole with our tower project. That was a large chunk that would have burdened us in another way had we not received the ARPA funds. So I feel that we have done our due diligence there. And as far as the not-for-profits that we've helped out in the county, that wouldn't even have existed without ARPA funds. And a lot of counties that surround us didn't do that. We've been very gracious with our ARPA funds. So we have supported our community, and that is basically outside of this building is the heart and soul of the county. It's where it operates from. So we must maintain our house. We must keep our house in order.
But the whole point is we must keep it in order,
That's
not
exactly. I'm
come
gonna
up with
disagree.
2.4 million
I'm-
because we
I'm-
didn't bother to do our jobs.
I'm not going to disagree with that at all. I know it's a large number, and I actually toured that building. You know, I didn't even realize it was that big. And we looked around, and I know you did mention ceilings, but my understanding is ceilings are not part of this, correct?
No.
And I looked at the ceilings, and that was my first comments to Marcia. I said, are we doing anything with the ceilings? Well, no. So we have additional needs beyond this $2.4 million, which is sad, but there again, it's been 40 years.
How many
Things
years?
wear out.
How long has it been?
It's been right at 40 years. Yeah,
Wow.
One
Yeah.
end was built 40 years ago and the other end was
Right.
built 20 years ago.
right. So I mean, we've got the use out of it. We can only hope that going forward, the quality of product we get now is the same as we received originally.
Yeah, that's,
So,
yep, and that's all.
but I don't think we have a choice at this point.
I
I
don't
know
think we have
it's,
a-
it's painful.
Yeah,
Nobody likes the
I
number.
don't think we.
I don't think we have a choice either. I don't like the price tag on it, but I have toured the building. I've seen what it's like. I'm more comfortable using the ARPA funds and our
Absolutely.
general fund to do this. Because this is kind of given to us money, even though we paid for it in the long run. It is kind of free money to us to use. And again, I don't like the price tag, but I think our best bet is to use the ARPA funds,
We
get it
can-
updated and then work on a maintenance schedule from there to maintain it from that point on.
I would agree with that too, because if we don't do something now, it's just gonna be more expensive because we're
Yeah.
gonna be competing with schools and, you know, other timelines that are gonna cause our costs to go up.
And inflation.
Yeah, and inflation.
And it's not the council's job or responsibility to come up with that maintenance plan. It's the commissioners and the county
It sounds as though
administrator.
that they've already got that in their, they're planning to do that. So I think.
You know,
that's
I guess,
addressed.
you know, you're throwing a lot of pop shots at the commissioners that, you know, I can sit here and take so much because I really think I'm probably, I don't think I'll just hush up, but we've got a plan that we're working with Design Collaborative to try and come up with how we can move forward from here. Let's take a look.
Yes.
And Carrie, that's all we can ask.
That's right.
Is that you look forward and take care of things. That's all we're
And
asking.
I guess I would ask, what have I done since I've been here and how I've tried to help the county?
Work.
Yeah.
Work your tail off.
Yes.
And I guess I'm telling you, we're working that way and that's what we're going to do.
Yep.
I think you've got your pound of flesh. Let's move forward.
Yes.
I do have one more thing, Carrie. This doesn't fall in your lap. You've only been here 6 years. This
Yeah.
has been going on for.
I just-
realize-
this is just one of
Who's up here taking the lashing, I guess.
That's because you're the one that cares.
That's right.
But we do
Yeah.
appreciate all what you've done, Carrie.
We have a
Yes.
one additional comment and we're gonna vote on it.
Okay, a question and then a comment. I like using the ARPA funds because of the direct benefit to the local taxpayers because it's not gonna come out of their increased taxes. Convince me why we should be putting wall covering back in. You said it lasts 15, 20 years, paint lasts 7 to 10 years. And wall covering is a whole lot more expensive. Okay, if the wall covering lasts twice as much, does it cost more than twice as much? Or would there be a savings if we went? One of the questions I ask is why is there so much wallpaper in there?
Yeah, it's a very good question, actually. So we're not a one-to-one replacement. If you look at the color-coded chart there, it's specifically for that. You'll see there are some walls where they had vinyl and they don't in the future. We're coming back. And so the best way to describe that is the vinyl or we tried to look at durable, and I'm channeling March here, but we tried to look at durable areas that needed more durability because it does work. That vinyl will take scuffs, so just the scuffs over time. It'll take that. We also looked at it from the perspective of the term we use is bang for your buck, put it in the public spaces where it's going to get seen more. And then you're painting in the other areas where you don't have it. So in that number is some places where you had vinyl and we're not coming back, we're painting that. The issue there is it's not a one for one. Well, painting is $1.50 a square foot. So you tear the vinyl off and you paint for, but no, you have to prep that because it used to have vinyl on it. So it's not like painting the wall that was already painted. So there's some cost differences there, but so we are trying to save some money there. And that's how we looked at it is like, where are the areas that need the durability? Where are the areas that might want a little bit of pop? And the rest of it is utilitarian or behind the scenes. And then it can be your maintenance approach to that is painting. You know, that'll be in the painting life cycle and touch up. So
So
Does that answer that?
is vinyl more than twice as, I guess, how do I say it? Is there that much of a benefit by going vinyl versus the cost of painting? Because it's 2-to-1 lasting and is the vinyl more than 2-to-1 cost wise? Because both of them you're gonna have to prepare. I mean, when you take it off, you're gonna have to do something to prep it for putting wall covering back on.
yeah,
But
so
I guess I'm asking, what is the cost that I didn't get to see the spreadsheet. I probably sent to me and I didn't find it. But what is the cost per square foot of paint versus? paint, demolition, the whole bit, versus vinyl.
Yeah, good way to look at that is like, for just 1 second, think new construction. So if you're painting a wall, you're probably spending $1.50 to $2 a square foot commercially for that. If you're putting vinyl on that wall, you're probably spending $4 to $7 a square foot on that wall, depending on, because the vinyl can, I mean, you can really go up the tree with costs on that one. So you're looking at a 2 to 3 times the cost.
3 to 4 times.
Yeah. You should get, if you heard what I said, you're probably painting, and it comes back also to taste and how often you want to freshen up the space. You've got that longevity out of your past vinyl because it is a tougher product. If it's installed even today, because like Mr. Long's comment is really valid, it's got to be put in properly. And if it's put in properly, you're going to get that 10 to 20 years again out of that. Paint, you're going to be painting it again. So in 5 years, if you're repainting that wall, that's now $3 wall or a $4 wall. You're going to paint it again. You might paint it twice before you ever get back to replacing your vinyl. So that's how you look at the life cycle of the product is what you start looking at. And we really preach, use value as the term and not cost. So what does this cost us? And we were asked that all the time. We say too, and we always say, think value. So it might be more expensive early on, but and I've joked with these two. If you look at schools, again, Terrazzo, back in the day, that was it. And you can walk at a school built in the early 1900s. Terrazzo, as good as it was when they put it in. It just doesn't work today the same way. It's just not as flexible and those types of things. So what's the value you got out of the carpet for 7 years versus spending 10 times more than the carpet for Terrazzo? So that's the approach we took towards this. Of course, we don't have those kinds of flooring in there, but.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, with that, we're gonna look for a motion. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Okay,
That it comes from ARPA.
Correct.
so the motion comes from ARPA 2.4,
Not to exceed 2.4.
not to exceed 2.4. Okay, all those in favor, usual sign. Opposed?
I posed one before too, just so you know.
So moved. Thank you, Carrie, for following us to the woodshed.
Rhonda, did you get that I opposed the tear down? The 60,000 unsafe building.
All right.
I voted no.
Next up is the abatement compliances. Kathy, would you like to speak to this? Since you were.
Oh, wow. First off, I just wanted to thank him for coming. It's so nice of you to come. We do really appreciate you coming and just presenting to us. Oh, it's great. So, yeah. Anyway, I wasn't prepared to do that, but I'm happy to. So our first abatement is the Louis Dreyfus Company abatements. And as a abatement committee, we've looked at this and we've found that they're in compliance. We believe they're in compliance in all areas. Their taxes are current and they've met their obligations according to their, what's the name of that form? CF1 form. So.
And my understanding was it was already filed on time.
Yes, it was all
The
filed on
reports
time.
hadn't been generated within our system last. month.
Right. We were just waiting
Right.
for a spreadsheet from the assessor's
Right.
office, which is why we couldn't approve it the last time.
Right.
Is there anyone here from Louis Dreyfus?
What?
But I
Yes.
think
Yeah.
there is.
What did
There's
you
no
say?
one-
I'm sorry.
There's no one here from Louis Dreyfus. is there?
No.
No, that we told. It's just
Right,
basically
because it's,
a annual review.
yeah, of
Okay,
compliance.
last time they were told, or last time that was in the minutes that they were supposed to be here. So, okay.
I
never
think we
mind.
told them, we met with them.
I can check that, but I don't believe that to be accurate.
Okay.
Yeah, this isn't the form where they appear.
Right.
This is approving what they turned in for personal property and what the assessment is for real estate to verify that they have met what they said they were gonna do. When they're coming in to first ask for it, yes, we have to have them before us, and yes, we have to know what they're doing. But that's the reason why this one does not require their appearance.
And they were gracious enough this time to contact the abatement committee and we met in person. We met with people video
Yes.
chat because they weren't even in the state
We had
to
people
go over
that came
everything.
to meet us here, but then we had
Right.
people on.
And our
Zoom as
very
well.
first question was, are your property taxes up to date? And yes, because that was an issue last time. So they're in complete compliance. So with that, I'll look for a motion.
So moved.
Second, and are we approving all the ones for
Yeah.
Louis Dreyfus?
I'm,
All Dreyfus.
my
Yes.
motion is to include all of them because they are in compliance. So we really already approved it
Yeah.
contingent that they are in compliance and they are. So with the CF1, so I make a motion. All of them.
Second.
Yeah, I'll second it.
Okay, all those in favor? Okay, IDNA,
And,
I move we approve.
okay. I'll second that too.
okay, all those in favor?
And again, I just want to comment that they came as well and presented to us
Mhm.
and they met all their requirements. And it was really interesting to hear really from Dreyfus and also from IDNA, just all the things that they're doing in the community. It's just, it's exciting and we're blessed.
Okay, next up is public health bill programming. Basically, that's dealing with the health department funds, and the only thing I would have to say to that is we would encourage the commissioners to take a strong look at it.
And
Okay.
sign on. I think there are like 40 some counties, I think, that are signed, 43 counties, 48 counties that have signed on. And we have till the end of September, 1st of September.
Yep.
So,
Okay, next up, we
And
have,
along with that, we have to have a budget ready to go the
Right.
1st of September to go with it.
right. So the budget
Should
and
probably-
the submission.
next up is our auditor, Rhonda.
So you should have some information in front of you for the encumbering, which is $382,067.67. Most of that is from the highway. If you look at the spreadsheet we provided for you.
Any additional questions of Rhonda? Any comment?
Thank
I'll
you.
look for a motion.
So move.
Second.
Okay, we have motion and a second. All those in favor? Thank you, Rhonda. Do we have any further business before the council this evening?
I do have a report from the redevelopment commission.
Okay.
Effective July 1st, there was legislation passed that 2 people cannot serve as the president and vice president of the redevelopment commission that are appointed from the same governing body. And we were in violation of that because both the president and vice president currently serving and currently elected by the redevelopment commission were both appointees of the county council. So at today's meeting, the officers were voted on and changed. I will be the president. Jan Orban will step down and be a regular redevelopment commission member. Doug Haynes has agreed to step up and be the vice president. And because he stepped up to be the vice president, there's now a secretary opening, which Dan Weistrup has agreed to serve in.
Thank you, Joni. Anything else?
Only the information that we talked about that I sent out earlier about the wage committee, about the budgets and what will happen August 30th and 31st. Everybody needs to be aware of that. And then we will have a couple of things that the wage committee has approved already that will be heard at our August meeting. It was proposed to the wage committee that the veteran service officer become a full-time position. And I believe that we all were very, very supportive of that, knowing what a great job Daryl has done trying to provide for our veterans. And so we did agree that that should become a full-time position and would like to do it mid-year. And so there'll be an additional appropriation for that for the August meeting. And then we have another one. The wage committee has not met on this yet, but the ARPA committee discussed changing the status of the help grant coordinator to a full-time position through 26 to finish out this grant, to be sure that we're covering all our bases with all the people all those other communities that we're working with, plus to try to be a liaison. So, but on that one, the wage committee has not yet met. We have a meeting scheduled for the 19th, which
Wednesday?
would be Wednesday. So we'll have it done in time that we can actually do an additional appropriation possibly for that as well. And I just have one more thing on the opioid grant. We have finally submitted the last piece of paperwork and we're hopeful to get the signature page back so that the commissioners can sign. But we will be doing $150,000 for fellowship missions is the grant portion. That's what we're getting. We're getting $30,000 for jail counseling and we're getting $22,500 for the juvenile counseling. And then we're doing the match. So that comes to $202,500. And then on top of that, we get $24,000, $1,000 a month to administer this grant for 2 years. So I think all in all, the bottom line is we're going to be able to spend $429,000 to receive to do benefit $429,000. And 24 of that is just going to benefit the county because that will go into the general fund.
Right.
So, and there is more money coming, we know. We currently have a balance in the opioid fund of $266,561.25. That's between the restricted and the unrestricted. So we have more than enough money to meet the match. And I believe in July, we should be getting additional funding. Because as those pharmacy companies are paying, that
Right.
money should be coming into our buckets.
And Sue Ann should get kudos for all the hard work on
Yeah.
doing that and getting it in time.
Yes, thank you, Sue Ann.
Thank you, Sue Ann. Anything else?
I just want to comment, I was at the MACOG meeting and we discussed the Propel study for the US 30, work that's going to be done or we're
Yes.
hoping to be done. And I believe they're coming to the commissioners meeting and presenting their information on August 1st. Is that correct, Carrie? August 29th. No, wait, is it August 29th or July 29th? August 29th. Okay. Anyway, I just thought I'd let you know so you can watch it if you're interested, because they're going to basically tell you all their findings and what the process is going forward.
Excellent.
So.
Anything further? If not, I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. All those in favor? Thank you, everyone.